You are listening to 600 Second Saga. Today's feature is Obscured Skies by DJ Roselle. Luminiferous ether? The observatory director sounded confused. You know, the medium through which light propagates, Alice explained. Or at least that was the idea a century ago. I'm well aware of the Michelson-Morley experiment, and you're resurrecting a dead theory because... After months of analysis, it finally occurred to me that maybe the noise in our observations wasn't noise. I checked the data from another observatory and found the same thing. It's a crazy idea, but what else have you tried? The director interrupted. Alice cleared her throat and plowed ahead. I'm only telling you this because I think it's coming at us fast. While we can't measure a Doppler velocity, the apparent size of the abnormality is growing. We'll find out soon enough if we're all going to die. The observatory director raised an eyebrow. She continued, I mean, there's no telling what effects a disturbance in the ether would have on us. Someone suggested that an irregular speed of light would render everyone blind, lead to a widespread ecosystem collapse, or even mass extinction. You're not a grad student anymore. Stop listening to their wild conjectures. What if they're right? What happens to your career when you proclaim to the world that the sky is falling and then nothing happens? Alice had no reply. She walked briskly back to her office, trying not to cry. Then, in a moment of fatalistic clarity, Alice posted her work to an online forum frequented by both amateur and professional astronomers, asking if anyone could verify or disprove her results. The feedback, both encouraging and scathing, trickled in for a few days, then poured in. By the end of the following week, the science blogs had taken up the story. By the end of the month, experts were debating the idea on network television and trying to explain to the public that this ether had nothing to do with anesthesia or cryptocurrency. The conversations ranged from dismissive jokes to moderate concern. Despite the public calm of authorities, who chose to side with the skeptics, more than a few people began stocking up on food and water. Meanwhile, email spam filters filled with offers of ether storm corrective lenses and training sessions with blind escorts. After one particularly long day of disrespectful interviews, Alice concluded that the situation had spun well out of her control. I'm done here, she thought, and then realized that she was. Alice drove straight home and pulled up the travel app that she often used as a source for her most punishing fantasies of an alternative life full of better-made decisions. Instead of window shopping again, she immediately rented an idyllic cottage in the lake country, emptying the remainder of her meager bank account in the process. The next morning she rose before dawn and stuffed the old compact her father had given her with a large suitcase, 4 bags of groceries, and the shelter cat she had adopted last year. The drive was peaceful, no phone or radio, which was broken. Even the cat slept quietly in its tattered cardboard pet carrier. At the cottage, Alice unpacked and spent the rest of the day hiking an empty trail that meandered through the woods and skirted the fields. The evening was spent on the front porch of the cottage, watching ducks on the lake, eating dark chocolate with tea and having a good cry. As the light faded on the second evening, she decided to turn her phone back on, and immediately received a call from her mom. Where have you been? Never mind, just come home, sweetie, so we can be together when it comes. Alice's mother was always euphemistic about major life events, even ones that might not happen. Maybe, Mom. Talk to me, sweetie. I've done it all wrong, Mom. What do you mean? You're famous. You'll get a tenured job for sure if... Mom, the only reason I'm getting all the credit right now is because my advisor thinks I'm making a fool of myself. I'm actually surprised he hasn't asked me to leave yet. He's probably just waiting for the press to move on. Don't be so hard on yourself. Why not? I'm a 31-year-old postdoc. The closest thing I've had to a relationship in the past 3 years was a one-night stand at a conference that I immediately regretted. I've been living a life of aestheticism for the past decade, and for what? A damn job I'll never get. Mom paused. Just come home, sweetie. I love you. As she put the phone down, Alice saw the screen flash and checked it again. It was in sleep mode, but shimmering oddly. She suddenly realized that it was happening. Yes, just as she predicted. Alice was exuberant and nervous to be alone at this moment. She glanced around for the cat. It was asleep on a chair. She watched for a few moments as a faint aurora washed the room. Alice stepped forward hesitantly. No vertigo, just a slight visual elasticity as she walked to the door. She stepped out of the cottage and onto the porch. Prismatic moonlight danced across the lake. The sky was alive, roiling like a boiling pot, as bright as a Hindu festival of colors. Alice sat in a chair on the porch and watched the display for almost an hour until it ended as suddenly as it had begun, leaving her alone again with the moon and the stars and a small cat that had curled up in her lap. Alice sighed and then cried again, this time because the universe was so beautiful. This was Obscured Skies by D.J. Roselle. D.J. Roselle is a Nobel laureate and Pulitzer Prize winner in at least one timeline of the infinite multiverse, but not this one. His fiction writing can be found on Twitter at DJ Roselle. Check our show notes for links. Music is provided by Mads. Learn more about 600 Second Saga, our authors, how to submit your flash fiction, and how to support the podcast in the show notes. This has been Mariah Avix and 600 Second Saga.